one. Welcome back to Health Hangouts with Amanda. We are running this video series, posting a video every single day with various colleagues, friends, people we admire, people we follow, and we're doing it for the benefit of those of you out there who are struggling in whatever ways you might be struggling. Sometimes it can be very helpful just to hear thoughts and viewpoints about what other people are faced with in this pandemic and how they're coping, and remind you that we're never far if you need some help. So we can do this all digitally, as you see. So welcome to this edition. We have Deanna Sullivan here with us today, and Deanna is the owner of two eating disorder recovery homes in Nanaimo, British Columbia. And we've known Deanna now for about a year, and have worked with Deanna with the women in her homes for about that same amount of time, maybe a little bit less. So it's been a real honor to have this partnership with Deanna in what she's doing, and we have been able to align values with what we're doing, and really I believe affect some real positive change with some of these girls. So Deanna, welcome. Thank you so much for taking this time. I know it is volunteer. You know, everybody is busy in their own ways, and everyone has struggles. But you jumped at the opportunity to have this conversation with me, and I love that so much, because I need the help with these interviews, right? So thank you for being here so much. Yeah, I'm going to hand it over to you if you want to introduce yourself any further, and then let's just talk about what's going on.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, Amanda, for having me today. I'm grateful to be here. Yeah, so basically you said it, I'm the owner of the first women's eating disorder recovery house in Canada, and we now have two houses. I opened up these houses from my own past experience with an eating disorder. I also am recovering from drugs and alcohol as well, so I have 9 years, just about 9 years clean and sober, and 8 years free from my eating disorder. And I was, you know, inspired to open up Blossom for that reason. When I got out of treatment, I had nowhere to go. I didn't know what to do. I didn't learn a lot of the skills that I needed to stay in recovery and feel confident in that. And I remember leaving treatment after being there for 3 months. I went to Woodstone on Galliano Island, and I just remember leaving and just feeling so anxious, and I just had to go back into the world and take what I learned and try to move on with my life. But the reality is I was very sick when I got there, and a lot of my time there was weight restoration, and it wasn't a hands-on program, so I didn't learn how to cook or go to the grocery store or you know, build a community. And eating disorders are very isolated, and it's not something we talk about. And so I remember coming home, not many people knew that I went to treatment for my eating disorder. Not a lot of people knew I struggled with an eating disorder when I was in early recovery. And I just remember being so alone in that and feeling like, what am I going to do? And resources here are hard, especially on the island. And so, yeah, that's what inspired me to open up what I have now. And we have two houses. Blossom is considered a second stage recovery house. So it's more structured. We have a full program. We obviously work with you lovely ladies, and we have a team of other counselors that we have collaborated with that work with the girls on a weekly basis. And then we've opened up Magnolia House, which is a third stage recovery house. And that's just kind of the stage that they get to. Most come, you know, go there from being in Blossom, and they're kind of in that next stage of their recovery. They're ready to go back into work and, you know, learn how to continue to nourish their bodies while they have a full-time job, and while they're, you know, out in the community and living their life at this point. And so they've learned the tools. But it's not just for those people. Like, we do have people that come out of treatment and, you know, not necessarily identify with an eating disorder, but have disordered eating, body image concerns. So it's still a place for them where they're supported and have accountability, but it's not as structured as Blossom.
Beautiful. Yeah, and you have such a wonderful community that you have created since the day you opened, right? And I know that it's been, I'll speak for what I know about building a business, but it's incredibly challenging, and there's always something that comes up. So I think the first few years can be the most challenging as you get all your policies in place and you're trial and erroring things, and I give you a lot of credit for opening, because I think that there is a reason, or there's certainly something to be said for why there are no eating disorder recovery homes. Like, it's a tough thing, and that's an understatement. And you've persevered through the year, and now you're faced with what's happening with the pandemic, and you and I have had some private conversations around what the impact is.
Yeah.
And so I'm interested for you to share with our viewers here what that impact is on the girls that you have in the home, but not only that, but perhaps explain what you do in the second stage housing, like what the program was, because if the viewers understand what the programming was, then they can better understand the impact of what's happening here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a massive impact for sure. Yeah, the first year has been a total learning curve. It's been, and I will like to say, I had no idea I was the first one in Canada to open. I just had a vision, and I knew that this is what I wanted to do. Once my son was diagnosed with sensory processing disorder, I knew that I wanted to do this once he got into school, but I actually had done no research when I came up with this. It wasn't until I went and got my insurance and started, opening up things, and people saying, "What? You're opening up what?" And I went, "This is really not a known thing. Like, what am I stepping into here?" And I stepped into a massive untouched territory for sure. And so it was until I started doing the research of what, my vision was and putting it together, that this was the only one in Canada. And we have treatment centers in Canada, but we're not classified as a treatment center. So yeah, I would just like to say that I had no idea what I was stepping into. And I would say, like, just before this pandemic kind of hit us, I've gone through all the stages of, I watched another interview that you had with Rosa, and she had said on there, "Oh, look what's happening over there, hope they figure it out," kind of thing. And that really, like, I connected with that. I was like, yeah, I totally remember sitting at dinner and a friend's bringing it up, and I thought, oh, that's over there, that's not going to affect us. And then it felt like in 24 hours, it was like, oh my gosh, we have to change everything. And being in a home with women that are very vulnerable immune systems, and we have girls that are in weight restoration right now and sick in our house, and I had to take that very seriously. And so it did change very, very quickly overnight. Our team was no longer able to come into the house, which, for Blossom, our program is what I feel made it so unique and special was the hands-on with our team. So we have a very structured, pretty structured environment at Blossom. We have, our nutritionist, for example, she would come in twice a week, and it was a hands-on session. She comes in and plans a meal plan with them. They learn about different nutrients. They integrate that into their meal plans for that week. They learn about it. She puts together a meal plan. We then would take them to the grocery store and pick up the groceries that she put together on the list. And so we got that exposure by taking the girls to grocery shopping, which was something that I was never shown how to do. And I remember I couldn't go into a grocery store for the first 3 months after leaving treatment. My heart would pound, my knees would buckle, I couldn't do it. And being in a relationship at the time, my partner had no idea how to handle that. Like, why can't you just go into the grocery store? Let's go get food. But I couldn't. I would walk in, and all of the food and all the labels and all the people, and it was too much. And so at Blossom, that was something that we really, really focused on, is showing them how to have a list, showing them how to go to a grocery store, pick up the food that we needed. So we did that every week. And our different workshops and therapy groups, our counselors would come into Blossom and do that. We brought, we did movement classes every Sunday and taught the girls how to go to a gym setting without the intention of losing weight, but to strengthen their body. We even did that with you guys as well, like really getting them to honor their bodies. And that's the core of our program is intuitive eating, get them to really connect with their bodies and listen to her, because she tells us what she needs. And for
Absolutely.
so long I listened to the eating disorder voice and I wasn't able to connect to my body. And that's a powerful tool for me today. We do strongly practice health at every size at Blossom, and that's something that I study and I'm passionate about. The BMI is not scientifically backed, and that was something that was foreign to me. I put everything on that in my eating disorder, and so today I know that's not fact for me. And health at every size is scientifically backed, and I love that. Be able to honor all bodies and meet each body where they're at, and so it's a very, very hands-on house. So of course everything's changed. We can't go to the grocery store anymore. We can't have anyone of our team come in. Everything is online, which took me about a week and a half to get organized. So for about a week and a half, the girls were a bit crazy, and I too. It was really challenging to, get these programs online that were so unique, and being face to face and having that human connection, to getting meal support and meal planning and nutritional education and therapy, yoga, art therapy, all movement classes, all on through a screen. Very challenging. So our program has definitely changed today, as well as we had to put in a lot of safety precautions in the house, right? So the girls have been completely quarantined, myself as well. So, I'm in business with my dad. He's a huge part of Blossom. And so he actually manages the 4 different grocery stores for 49th Parallel. And so I've been grateful for that. He's been able to do all of our grocery shopping for us. So he goes and picks it all up and delivers it. But also challenging, we figured out that we can't plan our meals like we were. And so the girls have actually gone even into a further step, which now I'm grateful for, that we don't know what's going to be available at the grocery store. There's a lot of things that we put on our list that's sold out, and we have to think of different foods that we're going to have, or get whatever we get and make a plan from that. And so I would say the girls are in a really good rhythm now with it. And then I go there. I'm there 7 days a week. And so I've been home with my son and my husband and my cat here, and then I go straight to work. So I don't go to gas stations. I don't go to grocery stores. I don't see anybody. But yeah, so that's about the program. And then me personally, I've also struggled in that, right? I'm a people person, as you know. I love to talk. I love my people, and being in recovery myself, my whole routine to take care of myself has changed. And how do I fill my cup spiritually without my people, seeing them? And there's been some heavy stuff that's happened in this last month, I think I'm just starting to get to the point where I am at a point where we are socially distancing and I'm seeing friends. So, driving to their houses and staying in the driveway, and I'm talking from my car, and they're far away. But I've needed that. I've needed to see people, not just on a screen. But I am forever grateful that we have this technology, because we have been able to continue doing what we're doing for the program at Blossom and Magnolia. We've continued to work with the girls on a deep level through a screen. I think back to, I can't imagine doing this years ago. This wouldn't have been an option, so we get to do things like this and reach as many people as possible and help somebody out there that is struggling. And on the flip side of that, in the beginning, I was very I think I was in quite a negative headspace about it, and it shook me for sure. It was a quick adjustment, and now I'm grateful. We've reached even more people. You know, I have my teacher from New York. She messaged me and asked me if we could put, you know, some of our things on the newsletter through one of the courses I took, and I said yes. And you know, we're reaching people all over Canada now that are jumping on to our eating disorder meetings. That we opened another eating disorder meeting on Saturdays now, so we have 2 a week.
And are you running those yourself?
Well, no, it's Eating Disorders Anonymous meeting. So, you know, when I opened up Blossom, that was another thing. There was only 4 Eating Disorders Anonymous meetings in BC. And so, yeah, it was really, you know, it was non-existent really. And so we opened up a Tuesday meeting that was hosted at Blossom. And right before this pandemic, we were actually ready to rent another location because it was getting so big. We wanted to have it outside of the house. Also to reach more males, I feel like it was hard for men to come into a woman's house to go to a meeting. Kind of a conflict, you know, there. And so we wanted to move it, but then this happened. So now we're online. And but Blossom has put them on. Yeah, we've put them on the site, so they are on the Eating Disorders Anonymous website for anybody that needs that. And that's been wonderful, you know, like just having 20 to 30 people log on to a meeting and be able to share their experience, strength, and hope, their struggles, to be heard, to not feel like they're alone in this struggle. And something that also was said in an earlier interview that you had was that eating disorders especially thrive in isolation. And I think that's where my focus has been right now. That's my motivation, to break that, to bring us closer in a time where we couldn't be further away from each other, but we are actually coming together closer as a community to support each other. And you know, another part of our program that was so special was our alumni. They would, you know, they graduate and they still come back to Blossom for supported dinners. So our dinners would be on average about 14 people for dinners a night. And now, you know, I just have the 3 girls in the house right now, and we're not able to have that experience of watching somebody who's been in recovery from their eating disorder for a year and watch how free they are around food, and the girl that's just coming in struggling to pick up her fork, you know, and we don't have that now. So, you know, the girls that are there kind of, they all got there kind of at the similar same time. So it's been different, but in the same sense, it's powerful what's happening. Like, I truly am grateful for our technology and for the community that's growing, and for people to become more aware of where they're at and their stories, and talk about it and share their experience, strength, and hope. And yeah, it's kind of mind-blowing, to be honest, like how many people we're reaching. So I'm grateful for that.
And what a brilliant attitude too, because I know there are people out there who are saying, well, this is so hard for me, and you know, we have to face all these challenges and we don't know how to overcome this, and then we get into a depressive cycle, right?
Yeah.
And if we engage with that, then the likelihood of it getting worse is strong. But what I see here is that, and we, in the past, when we were having these private conversations about what was happening to you and the girls in the house, it was like, there's a lot of fear there for people, right? And so I've seen a transition with you even to this moment of going with, well, this is what we have in front of us, and this is all we have to work with, and we can, you know, do what we can, and then we have to let go of the rest, and that's it. So I'm seeing this beautiful attitude that's coming from you now that is not fear-based, and you're just saying, like, this is really, there's a great things that are coming from this, despite how hard this is right now.
Totally. And I did, like, I even remember talking to you, like, I was in so much fear and thinking, you know, how are we gonna keep such a unique program alive and well and continue to help women when I felt like it was all based on face-to-face and it's just shown me that with the willingness that these girls have, anything is possible. And also for myself, you know, like, if I am focused on what's going to happen, you know, down the road, I go crazy. I go absolutely crazy. And for today, I'm grateful for the connection. I'm grateful for our community to continue growing. I'm moved. Like, you should see me on these meetings. I'm just get so jacked up. On Saturday, I was just, you know, like, it just makes me so stoked to have 20 plus women and men talk about their struggles with being isolated in their own homes and how they're getting through that. It's so empowering. Like, it's so empowering. And I just think, like, I think about where I was before, and I can't imagine not having this community, you know, going through this. So I'm grateful that there is something out there now that women and men can log on to and feel supported and not alone, and thrive off of each other's experience, strength, and hope.
Absolutely. So as you've implemented the changes that were necessary, and honestly, you know, a week and a half to figure it out is pretty good timing, like, for having to go from what the system you had in place and that you had cultivated for, you know, a year. And that's not even including the cultivation of, like, the creation of the plan prior to that, and how long you put into planning and organizing and changing that house to accommodate, and then to take 1.5 weeks to change the whole thing. That's impressive.
I didn't sleep. I'll add that.
Yeah. So I'm really impressed by that, and the effectiveness of that I've seen so far. But that's where my next question comes in is, you know, it's a two-parter. So how are the girls coping now, as opposed to, you know, when you were in your fear, they were in their fear, and now that you've implemented these changes, how are they coping now? And are you finding that what's being delivered digitally is effective for them?
Yeah, how the girls are coping now. So we have two different homes that they're in completely different levels. So I would say that Blossom is at an advantage for sure, only because I'm able to go there every day. I've been able to walk alongside them. We've had to get creative, right? We've had to get creative and keep ourselves busy. And I feel that it's challenging for them. You know, they go into that place of, oh, another group online. I don't want to do it, you know. But I keep hearing it over and over. The only way to get over that is through it, right? And so, and to be grateful and change their perspective on, this is what we have right now, and we have to work with it, you know. And I think it's better to have this than to have nothing. And they're supported, and we're finding ways to make groups more interesting and not just be staring at a screen. We've also launched a lot of our groups for free. So we've launched a lot to our eating disorder community right now for free, and like you are doing as well. You know, we're doing as much as we possibly can to support as many people as possible, because financially right now people are in that place where it's not possible to pay for a lot of things. And so we've launched that, so our community has come together even more for that, and I think that gets them going. That keeps them inspired. They get an opportunity to share their experience and where they're at. Blossom girls have been there for 2 months, so they get to start sharing where they're at and giving other people hope, and I think that keeps them going. You know, I was told when I got to recovery, I can't keep what I have without giving it away, and so I think they're kind of at that place where they're grateful. They're grateful, and they've got to know each other on a whole new level.
Yeah.
A whole new. Magnolia girls have struggled. You know, they see no one. Like, none of our professionals. They don't see me. So that's been really, really tough for them. And they are having to go into the grocery stores and get their food. So they take turns on who does that. But again, just like, it's just been amazing to see how they've pulled through, and even with their struggles, that they're reaching out, they're using their supports, they're talking about it. They know they're not alone, And I think that also helps me too. Like, I'm not the only place that's having to adjust our program. I'm not the only one that's had to change everything and put it online. I'm not the only one that's in this situation, and that gives me hope as well.
Yeah. And I know with the Magnolia girls too, there's been, you know, reach outs for additional support. And they've done that.
Yes.
You know, you may have passed on the information, but they reached out. And so, I mean, in third stage recovery housing, it's really important that they are taking that responsibility for their lives, and they are well enough, we would imagine or hope for, well enough on the scale where they can do that. Like, they're capable now, like they have the skills and they have the tools to be able to make decisions that are recovery sustaining.
Yeah.
So I was pleased to see that there was a reach out from all of them, actually, right? So that's wonderful, and it's great to see too the very fact that they are able to get their own groceries and make these responsible decisions and be reaching out and asking for help, not through somebody else, and they're not hiding and things like that. That speaks to your programming also.
Yeah, sorry, I just like just thinking about, you know, yeah, they are in that place. Like, they've gone through the stages of realizing going back to my eating disorder is not the solution. Like, it's always an option, it's not the solution. And they're at that place where they're like, okay, I do need to nourish my body. I do need to go to the grocery store. I do need to take extra precautions, but they're doing that. They're in a place where they're supported by so many of us that they're able to walk through those fears and show up for themselves. So that is amazing. Where, you know, with Blossom, still they aren't at that place. You know, I'm still there having to remind them to do those things, and that's why we have it set up this way. You know, like, simply the girls at Blossom just aren't at that place yet, and that's okay. But they learn, you know, they get to have groups with girls from Magnolia, and they're inspired. Like, they have something to look forward to. Oh my gosh, I can't wait till I get to that place where I automatically know I need to nourish my body, even when it's stressful times, even when I feel like I'm not hungry and I don't want to eat right now. They're still able to realize that they need to do that for themselves. And so, yeah, I love that our community is growing, for sure, in that way.
You know, and the other thing too is that we can't expect that our recovery process is going to be easy or more perfect to any stretch, right? But what I see that's happening with these girls is that they're listening.
Yes.
And when and I'll speak for myself, because I'm in recovery from an eating disorder also. And when I was in the thick of my addiction, even prior to that and even after that, even into early recovery, like, I didn't want to listen. Like, I was so arrogant about, you know, I got this and I don't care what you think or whatever. And even though I knew I was dying, it didn't matter. So as I see, and I know there's lots of people out there in the world who are experiencing disordered eating, body image concerns, or an actual diagnosed or diagnosable eating disorder, they're not listening. They're not asking for help. They're not, you know, and they might be stuck in their own egos thinking, oh, I can do this myself. And this is what I see as a pivotal change that your houses, especially Blossom, has offered to these women, and is that they come in and they, like, a lot of them don't want to listen when they first come in, but there's some beautiful transition that happens, that when they start listening, they really do start getting well. And now they have not only, you know, the girls from Magnolia who have a heightened, okay, I have to figure out how to say this, but a higher level of recovery, or more experience in recovery, although they're still in early recovery. They have that. They also have the community that they can listen to. And I see them asking more questions. I see them reaching out. And so that's what's creating, to me, the pivotal change here, is that they're listening now. And I know that for me in my own recovery, once I started to actually listen to what my therapist and my team, what they were saying to me, I immediately started getting well. And it took a long time for me to get well. I was sick for a long time too. and I still, you know, we're always in recovery, but that's the greatest thing that I'm seeing here that I feel really excited about, is that they're listening.
Yeah, and I think they're listening because they feel heard. You know, they are not alone anymore in this battle, this life-threatening battle of an eating disorder. They walk into a home that is supported, that is filled with love, compassion, hard work, but and they're making connection. So they went from, you know, me, myself, and I, my eating disorder, struggling and, you know, battling that for however many years. And then they walk into an environment where they're sitting across the table from somebody who's just been where they are. They just walked in totally fearful, totally scared out of their mind to let go of Ed, but they're eating and they're taking care of themselves, and they don't need to binge, purge, or restrict anymore. And they start connecting on such a deep, vulnerable level that they're building friendships, you know. And for me, in my active addiction, I didn't have a single friend, and I couldn't talk about my eating disorder. This is stuff that, like, we have conversations that would blow your mind, like, you know. And it's just to so openly be able to have those conversations and be able to relate to somebody, I think is the start to opening up their ears, to being like, okay, I need to do this. I can't trust my own head anymore. I can't trust what my eyes are seeing in the mirror. I have to trust other people. I have to trust the professionals. I have to trust, you know, the team that's surrounding me, and my friends that are now surrounding me. And I think that has been key. And I think that's what was missing for me in treatment. You weren't allowed to say certain things out of fear of triggering somebody else's process, which, you know, I couldn't disagree with more. Like, I'm all about getting them triggered. Actually do things that specifically
so they have to
trigger them.
They have to actually face it.
Yeah.
They can't run away from it. Yeah.
And
I
that's
understand that.
with what we're going through right now, you know, like, it's triggering to go through this. It's triggering to not be able to go out into the real world and do what you're doing. Again, that's where, you know, a lot of their eating disordering voices have come in and said, well, I can't go to the grocery store, I just won't get food at all, you know? And so they're being triggered, but how to work through that. And so I'm all about that. I'm all about making them as uncomfortable as possible. So I'm not their best friends a lot of the time, you know, big bad wolf, but they're grateful for it once they get through it, and they're supported from a team where life keeps happening when you get out of recovery, when you get out of treatment. Life keeps happening. And, like, I'm sure you can relate, Amanda, but, like, even today, you know, things happen in our day-to-day life that we need to work through. We can't just avoid it. We can't just go back into our active addictions. We can't numb out. We can't mood alter. So how do we work through these feelings? What tools can I use today? And that's why it's, like, so essential for me. Like, I don't just go into these houses and preach this stuff. I practice it every day. And the one thing I'm so transparent about is that today I have 100% freedom from food, 100%. But my body image is contingent on my spirituality. And I don't mean like praying to God or whatever, but it's just contingent on my spirituality. So if I'm not taking care of myself spiritually, if I'm not taking care of my self-care, doing the things that keep me sane in my recovery, I take it out on my body, and I still can have that today. So, you know, I specialize with the body image stuff, and that's my area. That's where my most excitement comes from, but it's still what I have to practice every single day. And I'm really transparent about that with the girls. Like, if I'm messed up emotionally and I'm not taking care of myself, I can look in the mirror one day to the next and think, oh my God, these pants don't fit me. Or, oh my God, I look so big today, you know? And, but I can get out of it quicker, and I have the tools to get out of that. So I'm very open with them about that. And I think that gives them hope. Like, even, you know, 8 years in, this is still something I have to work on daily.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for that. And thank you for your personalization of it too. You know, sometimes it's really tough for people to talk personally about their own story, and these interviews are largely that. And I agree with you that, you know, being able to share what our histories are and how we've grown from it and the hard parts and the easy parts and what we've learned, all that is extremely valuable. And I do have people who are like, well, I don't know if I want to talk about that, but I'll talk about business, or I'll talk about, you know, and I'm like, well, these interviews are really personally based, and this is like a friend conversation kind of thing. But I think, you know, that's my philosophy also, and which is why I talk so freely and openly about my history. So I just want to say that I really appreciate you showing up in such a vulnerable way, just open-hearted, and there's no, you know, there's no fear there from what I see. There's just this beautiful willingness to be able to give your strength and your knowledge and your hope, giving that away and saying, listen, like, this is how this can work, right? It might not be the same way you will make it work for yourself, but it is an idea of how it could work for you. So I'm really grateful for you for that. And I noticed that the first time I sat at that kitchen table with you in Blossom House, right? And I thought, like, I got to work with this girl because her passion is like spot on. You know, when you talk about getting fired up, it's like, I understand that in my own way, because I get really fired up about what I do. And I see that in you. And I walked away from that initial meeting and I thought, yeah, like I gotta work with her and have a long-term relationship with her in some way, because what she's doing is super valuable. Whether it's effective, because that was in the very beginning. I was like, whether what you're trying to do business-wise is effective or not, like, you are nailing the passion. And because you're nailing the passion, you are educating yourself swiftly about what will work in what you've been creating. And you persevered that whole year. And I watched you do that. So I love that you can show up in such a vulnerable, personal way here, knowing that this will be, you know, televised everywhere, you know, where whoever's going to watch it. So yeah, so really, really grateful for that, because it aligns with my vision, which honestly, our visions align in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
So that's really, really cool.
Meeting, I just felt the same way.
Wonderful. So I have another question now. I'm feeling like I'm not quite finished with this conversation, but I'm mindful of time, and I know that I did schedule an appointment for 10 minutes. Yeah, I do have an appointment in 10 minutes. And sometimes people cancel, and then I try and, you know, I have an hour, but I do have an appointment in 10 minutes. So I'll need to wrap it up, but there's one question I have in terms of like that personal piece of how you can, if you have any advice for people about what they can do to support themselves in their own situations when they're isolated, especially around the body image and the eating, whether it's an eating disorder or disordered eating, and how you can relate to that, and how you're working on strengthening or maintaining your spirituality, and as well as your healthy practices around food or exercise or whatever that might look like.
Yeah, well, like I said earlier, like, I'm all about challenging the girls and getting as comfortable as possible with being uncomfortable. And I, like I said, like, I don't just preach that and get these girls to do that, and I don't practice that. That's essential for my recovery. And so I give myself non-negotiables every day that are non-negotiables for my recovery. And I challenge myself every day. And I realize that, you know, this is years of me into my recovery, and this is what I do for myself today. But I do know that there's many women out there that have long-term recovery and maybe feel like they're stagnant and they don't know what to do, and they're kind of going squirrely. But for me, with my long-term recovery, you know, like, I challenge myself still today with my body image, like regarding my body image, I still challenge myself today. I wear things that I technically feel uncomfortable in. And I challenge myself in wearing things that, you know, I think Susan next to me would look better. My head tells me that. But I'm going to wear it anyways, because I'm going to show up for myself. And I'm going to love myself through this, and I'm going to work through whatever comes up for me. That's crucial to me for my recovery. And I realize that not everybody's at that place. I realize that if you're home and you're in the depths of your eating disorder, you're not going to be at that place. But I do really encourage people to continue to challenge themselves in their recovery. And I do that with the girls at the house too. And we work through that, and they take down notes of what's coming up for them, and they journal and they work through those emotions, you know, writing those letters, breakup letters to Ed, and really disconnecting from that toxic relationship with their active eating disorder. What is that going to serve me? What purpose is this serving me? And, you know, I had a conversation with one of the patients in the house the other day, and she said, I don't know if I'm ready. I don't know if I'm ready to let go of my eating disorder, because I know what this looks like. This is comfortable for me. And I get that, like, to a fundamental level, I get that. Like, I feel it in my bones. That's all I knew, you know, for so many years. Why would I let go of that when I don't know what freedom looks like? You know, and today I can't help but just like, just get so jacked up about recovery, because even through these challenges, even through these times where we can walk through it as fearful as we might be, the more that you walk through it, the easier it gets. You know, it just gets easier. It gets easier to show up for your body. It gets easier to listen to. I'm so in tune with my body today. You know, I eat when I'm hungry. I stop when I'm full. I eat whatever the heck I want, whenever I want. I eat all foods. I do not label foods today. And I practice that in the house today too. We don't label foods, you know. Our bodies know what to do with the food. They just do. And that's like, you know, I'm very grateful for the teachers that I have in my life, and the different education I have around that, because for so long I thought I needed to look at the labels. For so long I thought I needed to cut out food groups. For so long I thought if I did A, B, and C, I would get, you know, this result. And it's caused me a lifetime. I'm trying really hard to not swear right now too, because I'm this is where my passion is, and this is where all the words come out. I'm just so passionate about it. But like, our bodies know what to do, and I don't need to control it anymore, you know? So if you're home struggling right now, I don't know, like, I hope that you can dig into a community that can support you. I hope you have that piece of cake or that cupcake or that ice cream, and know that food is medicine. Like, food is medicine. Our body needs it. It knows what to do. And that's something I teach with the girls too. Like, scientifically, we all have a set point base weight. And when we're eating all foods in moderation and we're moving our bodies for joy and not punishment, which was huge for me, my body will go to its set point base weight. And Deanna doesn't get to control that. And for the first time in my life, that is why I have freedom from food today, is because my body knows what to do. And, you know, and out there for anybody, my body has changed recently in the last 6 months. It changed, and nothing in my system's changed, doing all the same things I've been doing, and all of a sudden I'm at a new body size. And I would be lying if I said that I didn't think about, you know, oh, maybe I should restrict, maybe I should cut out this food, maybe I shouldn't be doing, maybe I need to be moving my body more. And I said a big BS to that, because my body has now been at this set point base weight for the last 6 months, and I'm doing all the same things. And I refuse to go at war with my body anymore. I refuse it. So yes, I bought a size up in my jeans. Yes, I got rid of all the clothes that were too small for me. And yes, I talked about the feelings that I had around that. But I absolutely refuse to force her to be something she doesn't want to be. And this is where she wants to be today. And so here I am. And I have freedom from that today. And that's what I bring into my house is my own experience, strength, and hope. I bring in this. I'm raw, I'm real, I'm intense, I'm passionate, swear a lot, and I care. I care about the girls that want to show up and have the willingness to do the same for themselves. And, you know, I have girls in my house right now that have never worn a short sleeve, never, since they were a little girl, and she's rocking short sleeves. I have another girl that never wore a pair of shorts since she was 11 years old. She's wearing shorts in the house today. You know, I just think it's powerful stuff. And I wish I had somebody to coach me through that in my early recovery. I wish I didn't have to go through the years of pain to get to where I'm at today, but it's my story, and I think that's what helps me get it through. But I don't know if I answered your question, Amanda, but
you did beautifully. Just and so inspirationally also. You can tell just where your heart and soul is. in all of this, right? And I'm grateful to know you, because as you share your story, I remember what it was like for me, and I didn't have that either. I did have a support system, one that I attribute to having. I mean, I saved my own life, but you know, the therapist that I saw, she I really I thank her for helping me save my own life. You know, every week she was there for me for years. And so I think about that, and like, I didn't go anywhere. Like, I didn't have a house to go to. And so for what you are offering, you know, I put out to our viewers, and like, please share this video if there's anybody you know who is struggling in these ways, or can relate to anything that we've talked about today, because there is hope when we feel hopeless. Like, there is a way through this. Yes, it's very painful and difficult, but it's worth it, because, like, you know, when I was sick, I wouldn't have said that. I just wanted to die a lot of the time, but it is worth it. I look at myself years later, and ever since moving to the island, like 7 years ago or whatever it was, like, oh, it's so worth it to get well. And you can do it, but to do it alone is just
impossible.
Yeah, like I agree. You know, I try and avoid like the absolutes, but I agree. So we have strength in numbers. So Deanna, that being said, can anybody who might watch this video, can they come to your meetings, or can they contact you to access more information if they need help, or they just have questions? Are they able to do that?
Yes, 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 and yes. So, you know, I wasn't letting anyone come into Blossom. That was something that I took a personal choice of completely quarantining the girls through this pandemic. We're starting to kind of open up the door. The phones are ringing to get those other beds filled right now. But we just have to take extra precautions, right? So self-quarantine for X amount of time before coming, and just making sure. But like I said, our entire program's online. We do have outpatient packages. So we can work with you now completely online, no matter where you live. You would get full access to our entire program online, which is actually pretty neat. And then we also have a ton of free groups. We have a Facebook group that's private for only ED, you know, people that struggle with eating disorders, all body types. And it's a safe place for people to reach out at any time and get feedback. And it's growing very quickly. And that was really exciting for us as well. I think in like 4 days, there was over 100 people on the group, which is just fantastic. And then we also have like our public Facebook post that we page that we post all sorts of free stuff. So our yoga, our movement classes, art therapy, all of that's opened up to the community. And so yes, anybody can contact. And then the EDA meetings are open to the entire world. Like they're everywhere. And so they're a 12-step program. It's very similar to any other 12-step program. So yes, to answer that. Yes.
Yeah, wonderful. And that being said, you know, we do, as we've talked about, Strength has done work with Deanna for a year now, and so we will pass along also to you anybody who might come to us for any kind of support or guidance, because you have programming that, although we can do the counseling side of things, we don't have the yoga, and we don't have the EDA, and so we can pass along people over to your programming, and they can see like the fullness of the outpatient programming that you do have, and we're just a piece of that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I just love
and it's a safe place. It's a safe place. Like these programs are not just open to anybody. It's only open to people with that identify with an eating disorder, disordered eating, or body image concerns. So it's a safe place to feel uncomfortable, and that's a challenge, you know, to work out and move your body in a way that's uncomfortable and have a screen of people look at you. But I promise you that you thinking that you're not the only one. The whole screen's thinking that way. Everyone's so self-centered with their own head, right? Everyone's looking at me, but everyone's thinking that way. And so again, the only way through that is to get over it, is to get through it.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, I'm so grateful for this time with you. always love to see you and love to connect. I've always had a great experience connecting with you in a kind of a, I guess the spiritual way is the best way to say it, because we from my perspective, we are so aligned in our viewpoints and our visions and our passions. And it's really wonderful to see. In some ways, it's like a mirror. As I listen to you, I'm like, wow, like that's so on point, you know, and it's mirroring how whatever I might not be articulating here, it's a mirror of that. And yeah, super grateful for that, and just the time with you, and being able to just like hang out with you for a bit here has been really neat, because we, you know, we've both been extremely busy, and it's been tough. You know, we've talked about getting together for coffee, and that's been really tough. And now we can't do that, but we haven't really been doing Zoom connection because we are so busy, or for various reasons, you know, or we're you know, whatever it is. But it's wonderful to be able to do this, and doubly like wonderful, if that's a word, duly wonderful to be able to pass it on to the world that might benefit from it also. So Deanna, what's the website address for Blossom Place?
It's blossomplace.ca.
Blossomplace.ca. And your email that you would want people to contact you on?
Is Deanna@blossomplace.ca.
Okay. And the Facebook? I imagine it's Blossom Place.
Yeah.
Blossom Place. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Of course, if I get any correspondence, particularly about this interview, then I'll forward that to you also. And then we'll just keep connecting via text as we normally do, I guess. And yeah, just really grateful. Is there anything you want to say in closing to anybody who's watching?
That recovery is possible, and even in a time like this, please reach out. There are so many resources now. You know, not even just with the eating disorder, but we have such a wonderful team that specialize in trauma, and there's just so much hope. And I just don't want anyone to feel like you have to struggle alone or keep it a secret any longer. And please reach out in any way, on any platform, in any style, that you don't have to go through this alone, and together we can. And that was something that I wish I had caught on to a lot earlier. So
and even just like to check it out, even if you're like not totally sure, and you're like, oh well, I'll just go and check it out, like worth it. It's totally worth it. So good. Okay, Deanna, well, thanks again, and I'll touch base, or you'll touch base, and we'll talk soon, I'm sure.
Great. Sounds great, Amanda. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you too.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.